Star. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Reverend Kelly McNeil. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my honor to serve this congregation as your minister of congregational life. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. We begin this service by acknowledging that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Adena, Hopewell, Wyandotte, Miami, Seneca, Erie, and Cayuga people. We cultivate this awareness that our symbolic acknowledgements be accompanied by concrete acts of solidarity, healing, and reparation. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and sing our opening hymn, O Life That Maketh All Things New, which is number 12 in our gray hymnal. The seekers of the
the sense of life that knows no death, the life that maketh all things new.
Good morning. I'm Chris Sullivan, not Sue Farnlocker, as your program said, and I'm happy to serve this congregation as a member of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are she, her. Welcome to First UU. Whether you are joining us online or in person, and whether you are a new face or a familiar one, we are glad you're here. If this is your first visit, please stop by the welcome table out in the gallery for your first-time visitor gift. Everyone, please let us know you're here today by scanning the QR code on your order of service or on the screen. Here you can check in, find our order of service, the Joys and Sorrows form, and our donation page. And we have a few announcements this morning. Immediately after the service, Reverend Teresa and Reverend Kelly will be hosting a question and answer session here in the sanctuary. If you need to take a quick break and grab coffee, that's fine. We'll start 10 minutes after the service ends, and it will end after 30 minutes. You can bring any questions about Reverend Teresa, Developmental Ministry, or whatever is on your mind. If you are a leader of a group, class, or small group, please reach out to Reverend Kelly to be set up in our new database and to be in the Fall Engagement Catalog and Fall Engagement Fair. Raise your right hand, bend your elbow, and pat yourself on the back. Congratulations, you helped defeat issue 1. We wrote letters, postcards, and texts, and we voted. But now we need to put our hands to work again. Starting this coming week through September, we will have voter registration, training, sign making, and registering voters. From October 1st until Election Day, November 7th, we will work with Pro-Choice Ohio and Faith Choice Ohio to pass the Reproductive Rights Amendment. When you use work together, there is nothing we can't do. Breaking news today only, come to the jam table to sign the petition to fight gerrymandering. This is the first round for a new amendment for fair districts. The amendment would replace the politicians on the current redistricting commission with independent citizens. We need a quick turnaround, so stop by the jam table today and sign the petition. And now, a quick message from the auction team.
I really didn't want to scare you, but Haunted First UU's Fall Festival and Auction will start in 2 months. Oh. Do you own a business or patronize a business that you would like some new customers? We are busy soliciting donations from local Clintonville businesses, but we UUs live everywhere. Local merchants have donated gift cards, meals, services, and goods. If you would like to make a business donation or can secure one, please send us the details at auction@firstuucolumbus.org. In the meantime, start thinking about what your summer activities, which one of those might make a good auction donation. An interesting excursion, a tasty dinner you sampled, or any other offering that might be great for the 2023 auction. Look for more information coming soon in your mailbox. And if you'd like to join the auction team, please feel free to look for me after the service. Thanks.
So if there are any other children who would like to help us bring in the light, we might be able to coax Nathan to play a little bit more if they want to go out into the hallway. Any children want to go join? I'm getting the sign that they are ready, so our children will now bring in the light. I offer this chalice lighting by Bruce Southworth. For the gift of this day and for our community of spiritual nurture and compassion, we give thanks. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in communion of heart and soul.
Good morning. I'm Nancy McDonald Kenworthy. My pronouns are she and her, and I will read the children's story. Thank you, Roshan, for lighting the candle. Today's story is called What Will My Story Be? And it's written by Nidhi Chanani. I listened to my aunties tell their stories. Their stories are bridges, strong. Their voices like tea steeped in love and lore. They traveled through lands, trained their tongues to speak 2, 3 new languages, rose like waves in the ocean. With them, I'm silent. I want to catch each word. I want to tell my own, but what will my story be? In my quiet, it begins. It's slow to start, my voice, my art. Will I lead a ship of pantless pirates across hundreds of islands? Sing songs to calm the sea? Or could I teach long-haired dragons to speak? Would they stumble and stutter? I would help with laughter and glee. Maybe I will explore the world beneath the waves, answer the cries of creatures, jumbo to mini. My aunties come to hear, come to see. They encourage my speech, create space and support. Once I start, I am unstoppable. Then I see my story is not one, but 2, 3, through infinity. They are echoes calling. They are my history. My aunties listen to my stories, and together our words breathe. The end. The way we tell our stories matters. Together, let's consider what we'd like to shape the narrative of this chapter together. I now invite the congregation to form a sheltering arc of love as we sing our young people back to their families and out to class.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Terasa Cooley, and I'm very glad to finally be with you as your new developmental minister. Thank you so much. I want to say how grateful I am to the staff, to the board, to many of you who have already made me feel so welcome here. There's always that moment when you begin a new ministry where you know you're going to screw some things up, right? So I failed to proofread the order of service. I am actually going to preach this morning, in case you were wondering. So one of the sayings in my previous church was that we honor connection over perfection. So maybe that can be our watchword as we go forward together. So, the invocation this morning is from the poet Anne Hillman. We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which is every moment at the brink of death. For something new is being born in us, if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures, vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love. Come, let us worship.
I took my love and took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tide? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I've built my life around you. But time makes it bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Well, I've been afraid of changing 'cause I've built my life around you. But time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. Oh, I took my love and took it down. Oh, climbed a mountain and I turned around. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide brought me down. And if you see my reflection in the snow-covered hills, well, the landslide brought me down. Oh, the landslide brought me down.
Our reading this morning is from Teresa Soto. Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red, only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth.
In some ways, I feel like some of you already know me. A lot of you have been reading my book, which means you probably know a little bit more about me than some of my cousins do at this point. I know you've been hearing about me from various people, so my reputation, as they say, must precede me. I'm hoping it's a good reputation. And I already know some of you, especially my dear colleague Marco, who served this congregation so beautifully for so many years, and so many colleagues that I know here who I've known over the years. In fact, I helped perform Dana Reynolds' wedding many years ago. It is a small world, this Unitarian Universalist community. I've been learning some things about you as well. A lot of them good. Some of them painful, I'm sure, and many that prove how much this community means to you. But I'd like to begin with something of a clean slate. I hope we will not assume too much about each other before we really get to interact. In fact, I want to correct a few things that you think you know about me. I don't, in fact, love conflict. I don't want you to think that I take lightly the very painful experiences that you've had. I do believe that conflict, when engaged in with openness and learning, can be a tool for growth and even transformation. Some of you who've read my book have asked me, how did you know our story before you even got here? I did not, in fact, write about you in my book, though some of you seem to think that I have. It was actually written 2 years ago. But there are, unfortunately, some common stories about ministerial and congregational conduct that can follow some common patterns. But I have not already formed an opinion about you. I'm here to learn and to listen and to figure out some things together. So the first step is for me to let you get to know more about who I am and offer it as an invitation for you to do the same. I could give you a recital of facts and dates and sequentially outline my life, but I'm now 61 years old. That would take us a little time. You could go onto my website, www.terasacooley.com, if you want to learn all of those things. But for now, I want to give you a few glimpses of what's important to me, what makes me want to jump out of bed in the morning, what I love to do, what I've struggled with at times, what has led me to want to serve you in this time and in this place. I was talking with Marco about this sermon, about talking about myself, and he shared with me a sermon he had done 20 years ago called The Autobiography as Theology. So I'm trying to present my story in this sense as a theology in the sense of the word that reveals that which we hold most holy, that which we value most highly. So you can learn something about my theology just by listening to my story. And so here are some of the things that I value most highly. Finally, you should know that I have always been a questioner. I know that hardly makes me unique among Unitarian Universalists. My mother likes to say that she should have known I would become a UU minister from early in my life. When I was about 6 years old, she took my sister and I to visit my grandmother for the summer. She was going to go off on a trip with my father. We were to stay with my grandmother for a week. You need to know my grandmother was a very conservative Lutheran. Missouri Synod Lutheran, if that means something to you. And she was desperately afraid for the state of my sisters and my souls, because we had been brought up as Unitarian Universalists. And so she took that week as an opportunity to correct that and sent us to Vacation Bible School. It did not have the desired effect. When my mother came to pick us up, she asked what I thought of it, and I just said to her, "That stuff just isn't true, is it?" In fact, it almost made no sense to me. I was raised in a small town in the Gulf Coast area of Texas, surrounded for the most part by Southern Baptist and conservative Catholics, and I found myself often grateful for my Unitarian Universalist community. It helped me know that I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't alone. I was the one in the family who insisted that we drive the 45 minutes to church, and I still remember some of the sermons that I heard there. It helped me find a touch point. It helped me find some grounding in a place that I felt so unknown. I was less enamored with the church school at that time. Those were the days in which they thought biology was theology. We actually dissected sheep's eyes at one point. Fascinating, but not religious education, in my view. At my core, I've always been concerned with social justice. Initially, that led me to engage in democratic politics. At that point, hard to believe now, Texas state government was very different. All the major office holders were Democrats. The highlight of my political career was working for Jim Hightower, who was the progressive former Texas Commissioner of Agriculture, probably best known for declaring there's nothing in the middle of the road but yellow stripes and dead armadillos. He was uncompromising in his progressive views, kind of an early Bernie Sanders, and I respected him enormously for his integrity. But what I learned in the dog-eat-dog of politics is that a refusal to compromise ultimately leads to nothing really changing. And what I wanted to see was change. My call to ministry was about recognizing and understanding that change comes from within. It's not just about making new laws or policies, which are important, but they don't necessarily open people's minds and hearts to take in realities beyond their own. I think we see that now in the increased support for Black Lives Matter movement. That didn't happen because a law was changed. It happened because people's hearts were broken. They were broken open by witnessing the heartbreaking suffering of not just one person, George Floyd, but the terrible repetition of story after story. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Philandro Castile, Sandra Bland, Donovan Lewis. Say their names. Say their names. It is these stories that open our hearts. Every time I think I have the right answers, I remember that justice is not about answers. It's about partnership and listening and working together across cultural boundaries to create change. My theological development took a similar route. As I said earlier, I began by questioning traditional beliefs. I had the arrogant assumption that all religions all religions should be rational and reasonable. And I saw the destruction and the pain caused by fundamentalism of all kinds, and I didn't see beyond that. The part of what I loved about going to a multi-faith seminary, Harvard Divinity School, was that I got to see the beauty and the love and the commitment to humanity that arose from the deep and abiding faiths of many traditions. And over time, I began to see that logic and rationality were not the point, but rather, once again, the opening and widening of the heart and the spirit that's needed not just for justice, but for all to grow and live in the fullness of our being. My heart and my spirit needed to grow. I walked through some difficult times in my life, and what finally sustained me was learning that perfection was not the point. Achievement was not the point. Letting go of the fantasy of control and letting grace enter has saved me time after time. You'll hear me read and invoke lots of poetry. Part of why I love poetry so much is that it speaks to something that is more than just the words. It is what I call trans-rational, not irrational, but beyond reason, creating space for us to learn something new. And that, the call to grow something new, has always excited me. I love change. I love, above all things, to learn something new. Part of why transitional ministry is so well suited for me is that I find that time of liminality, when we look at what has come before and dare to dream of what we can become, to be incredibly generative. I know the costs of change as well, especially after the pandemic. When change comes in wave after wave that threatens to engulf us, I know how important it is to find what grounds us and know that it is not always easy. And yet I still prefer to embrace the challenges of change rather than to sit in the ease of complacency. What this time of developmental ministry, rather than interim ministry, will afford us is the ability to take our time in this process, rather than being rushed through particular steps. Developmental ministry is different from interim ministry in that it focuses on particular areas of growth that are identified by the board with assistance from the UUA. And the board and I will share those goals with you as we begin to flesh them out. There's not the usual 2-year limit. We could go as long as 7 years. I don't think you want to see me after 7 years. That's usually when I'm in a really bored place. I don't think we'll need that long because I believe at the core you are still a strong and vital congregation. I'm sure there will be times that I will challenge you to face some difficult things and to make different choices, but I know that you must first trust me to take those challenges in, and the process of building trust takes time. A part of ministry that has always been the most energizing for me is the teaching part. I'm a daughter and granddaughter of teachers, and so it is in my blood. But what I've learned from them is that teaching is not about telling. Teaching is not about imparting facts. Teaching is about helping to hold all of us in a place of mutual learning. When I see a spark of new insight that is catching in someone when their eyes light with a new awareness, it thrills me to the core. So I'll be offering you lots of workshops on my favorite topics, and you'll probably guess which topic will be first on my list. But it will not be a workshop where you just sit and listen to my words about conflict. It'll give you a chance to process your own patterns, your own feelings, your own experiences, both within yourself and with others. And this is why I love congregational life. and why I especially love Unitarian Universalist congregational life. Because at our best, we come together as a learning people. We understand that revelation is not sealed, that there is not a single big T truth, that an ongoing quest for meaning is what makes us live life to the fullest, even as we know that meaning may be ever elusive. We come to congregational life not just to be ourselves, but to be a growing people together. To find in one another new insight, new strength and support, new challenges to ask us to question our easy assumptions. I believe deeply in what congregations can do with our collective engagement, both within each human heart as well as beyond its walls in the heart of the community. And I know that Unitarian Universalism does not always live up to its potential. Actually, let me say it never lives up to its potential. Our ideals and our principles ask much of us. Just start with the first principle, which asks us to honor the inherent worth and dignity in every person. How hard is that to do? Particularly in these polarized times. But I would rather be with a people who continually strive to live into that principle than to be with those who casually cast others into damnation. Unitarian Universalism breaks our hearts. It breaks it over and over and over again when we see how hard it is for us to do what we're called to do. And yet I've come to believe that our hearts need to be broken over and over again. Broken open over and over again so that, as Leonard Cohen reminds us, we can let the light come in. As my colleague Meg Riley says, come what may after our deaths, we have cast our lot with those gods and mortals committed to creating together what is holy, right here in the incomprehensible, beautiful, horrifically broken, frighteningly vulnerable, miraculous place we call home. As I said in the beginning, I don't know you well, but I know already that you are people committed to trying to live out your values in this community. I know that there are many gifts that you have to offer. I know that some of you have hearts that feel very broken. And I thank you for continuing to come together, to learn how to be together in whatever form that may take. I thank you for taking this time to listen to some of my story, and I can't wait to hear yours. We'll be creating many opportunities, not just for helping me learn more about you, but also helping you learn more about one another. As my colleague Victoria Safford says, the church exists in part to remember, to rescue from a vast silence the stories that might not otherwise be heard, to ask questions that might not elsewhere be asked, to celebrate victories and to mourn losses that might otherwise be forgotten, to bless what might go unblessed. This remembering, this naming of truth, the consecration of stories forgotten, forbidden, and hidden, both terrible and beautiful, is the sacrament of the living word. So may we continue to bless one another with the sacrament of the living word as we share our stories together. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Kathleen Fowler, and I am privileged to serve as your Minister of Pastoral Care, and my pronouns are she and her. And you might note that our script is a little bit different order than the order of service states, so don't get too stuck on those words. Better printed. This morning I offer you Prayer by Jan Richardson from Night Visions. God of our hopes and dreams, when I scan other skies for signs of hope, and when I walk other paths with a longing for home, God of the exile, lead me back through my own door. Tell me my forgotten stories. Feed me the words I have given away, and draw my gaze from the far horizon that I may see the lights of my own sky. We see the signs, but cannot always divine their meanings. You call us to move forward, not always knowing whether what we grasp in our hands will prove to be a seed of hope or a thorn in our flesh. Train our fingers that what brings life we may with persistence hold, and that which wastes our souls we may with grace release. In the name of all that is holy, amen. This morning, we hold up individuals across our globe have recently been facing devastating situations, including the horrific fires in Maui and instability and deaths in Ecuador and Niger. May all beings live in safety, realizing justice, equity, and compassion. And the Amina Robinson Fellowship and Residency Program Writer in Residence through the Columbus Museum of Art is Allie Martin. Martin's sound installation, This is a Black Neighborhood, will fill the Sarah Gormley Gallery located downtown beginning on Wednesday. This residency program was created to honor Amina Brenda Lynn Robinson, a Columbus-born and raised amazing artist, who at one time stated, "By the time I reached 9 years old, I was deep, deep into transforming and recording the culture of my people into works of art. The magnitude of research and study of Afro-Americans is what I have dedicated my life to. My words are the missing pages of American history." And now I invite Pat Snyder forward, our pastoral listener. So we have one announcement only, 2 caring cards only, and 3 both announcements and caring cards for today. Ricky W. completed cardiac rehab this week. Ingrid S. survived cancer surgery in July and is recovering at home. Sending healing thoughts to Ingrid. First UU proudly welcomes Reverend Dr. Terasa Cooley as our new developmental minister. We are so happy to have you join us. And First UU of Columbus, Ohio sends our deep gratitude to Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray for her amazing vision and leadership of the Unitarian Universalist Association upon her retirement after 6 years as president of the UUA. Thank you for your care. And First UU of Columbus, Ohio welcomes Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt as the 10th UUA president of the UUA. We look forward to your wisdom and caring in leading us in the next chapter of our faith journey. We encourage all of you to visit the caring card table in Beach Hall after the service to sign caring cards, whether or not you know the person. This long-time tradition of signing cards in person is an important outreach for members and friends. And I hope we fill those cards with so many signatures we have to go run and get some more paper. And now for the joys and sorrows you lifted up this morning.
Tom B. expresses angst at the level of death and destruction on the island of Maui and the lack of warning to residents. And on a congratulatory note, J.M. expresses congratulations to Meg M. on graduating last Friday from her chaplain residency.
We hold these joys and sorrows and all of those yet unspoken gently in our hearts.
In July and August, our Share the Plate recipient is Sedona Grace. Sedona Grace keeps pets with their families by providing pet food to local food pantries so everyone in the family, including our four-legged friends, can have food on the table and in their bowls. You can also contribute by bringing cat or dog food to the Justice Action Ministry table on Sunday mornings in July and August. Please use the QR code on the order of service, text the number that will appear on the screen, or go to our website, firstucolumbus.org, and click the Donate tab to share as you feel called. Your gifts help build a better church and a better world. Thank you. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
Our benediction comes from Thich Nhat Hanh. There were times you did not succeed. Walking on the empty path, you were floating in the air, drawn into the world of illusion. But the beautiful path is patient, always waiting for you to come back. The path will be as fresh and as beautiful as the first time. Love never says, "This is the last time." Amen.
I invite you now to please rise as you are able to sing our closing hymn, "For All That Is Our Life," number 128 in our gray hymnal.
Which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For all that is our giving you, the services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new word we learn, for fearful hours of ours, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all our living gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Invite you to reach out and hold hands as you are comfortable, or place your hands over your heart as we extinguish our chalice together with the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love. Our chalice is extinguished, but our time together is not ending quite yet. After the postlude, you have 10 minutes to go get some coffee, do a bio break, whatever you feel like you need to do, and come back into the sanctuary for our Q&A time with our new minister, Reverend Terasa.